Oh, Lewis is coming. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation regular Board of Directors meeting for January 9th, 2025. It's now 9:01 a.m. I would first like to start with taking a roll call. You, Essa, you take that?
Today in attendance, we have Chair Gary Mackler, Vice Chair Carol Ryman, and Directors Jay Kimura, Don Mende, Louis Salavera, Scott Glenn, and Designee Mary Alice Evans.
Thank you. We've made our quorum for today. As we work through our agenda today under discussion and decision making, I will ask the public if they want to give testimony on each of these agenda items. So what I'd like to do right now is ask Gordon Pang to come up and give us the ground rules for public testimony. Morning, Gordon.
Hi, morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Gordon Pang, HHFDC Housing Information Officer, members of the public. We kindly request that you write your name legibly on the attendance sheet that is outside as you enter the meeting room. This will help us maintain a better record. Separately, anyone in the public who wishes to present oral testimony today should also sign up on the testifier sheet. You may also indicate your intent to do so by signaling the chair. Your testimony must be related to an item on the board agenda, and your name will be called when the item comes up on the agenda. We ask that before you begin your testimony, you identify yourself and spell your name in a clear manner for the record. After 3 minutes, you will hear this sound. Which will signify that you have 15 seconds left to conclude your testimony. Please keep in mind that this is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts to the board, with the board. If you ask questions during your testimony, neither the board nor the staff is required to respond. If you wish to submit written testimony, instructions on doing so can be found on the front page of the agenda under the section titled Public Testimony. Mahalo for your cooperation. Thank you.
Two of our agenda is the approval of minutes. Today, board members, we are approving the regular meeting minutes of December 12th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So,
And
second, sure.
thank you. Is there any discussion, any proposed changes, correction? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Next, we're moving into section 3 of the agenda. This is discussion and or decision making. Item A is to accept the audited financial statements of the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024. Is there a motion to accept? And is there a second? Second. Is there well, I think what I'll do is ask for the presentation first, and then I'll ask for public testimony. So if you'd like to go ahead, Holly, present.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Holly Osumi, Chief Financial Officer of HHFDC. So this morning, we're presenting a board action to accept the audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024. Instead of reading through the board action, I'm going to be presenting the four action in the PowerPoint presentation. So you folks all should have handouts that it's essentially the same slides that you see on the screen. And also as part of the meeting materials, you were provided the entire audited financial report. So as part of the presentation, we'll be covering these four key areas, going over the auditor reports, the financial statements, the year-end summary or recap of highlights and planned projects or programs that we have for the coming future, as well as any questions or comments at the end. So the Office of the Legislative Auditor had terminated the contract for the prior year's auditors. And in this year, they procured and contracted Acuity LLP to conduct the corporation's audits for fiscal year 24, as well as for fiscal year 25. For the fiscal year 24, Acuity issued reports on the financial statements, internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters, and compliance report for two major federal programs. These reports were issued on the same date, December 2024. In this first report, the auditor rendered an unmodified opinion, or what we also refer to as a clean opinion, on the audited financial statements. Therefore, the financial statements presents fairly the corporation's financial position as of June 30, 24, changes in financial position, and cash flows for the year then ended. The second issued report was a report of independent auditors on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of the financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. The auditors did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that are considered material weaknesses, nor were there any instances of non-compliance. As part of the third report of independent auditors on compliance for each major federal program and on internal control over compliance required by the Uniform Guidance, the auditors had identified two major federal programs, the Home Investment Partnership Program and COVID-19 Home Ownership Assistance Fund, also referred to as HAF. And the auditor opined that the corporation complied with all materials and steps with the types of compliance required as described in the supplement. Side. So let's move over the financial statements. So there are two types of funds of the corporation that comprise the government-wide statements, and the two funds are the governmental funds, which are funds that are primarily funded by public funding, as well as proprietary funds, which are enterprise funds, which are used to account for these activities for which the intent of management is to recover, primarily through user charges, the cost of providing services to customers. So the first statement is the government-wide statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, also referred to as statement of activities, which presents the activity of the corporation's net position change during the fiscal year. So the trend of the corporation's net position is an important indicator of the financial health of the corporation. So in this particular slide, the purple line that you see running through the graphic is the change in net position year over year for the past 5 years. So revenues are shown in the green stacks and expenses are shown in the blue. And net position increased by 569 million to 2.3 billion as of June 30, 24. Expenses in blue, the trend was relatively flat, except for fiscal years 20 and 21, which were the years that we were severely impacted by COVID-19 pandemic activities. As for revenues in the green, the revenues movement was greatly influenced by the allotments, appropriate allotments for DERF and rental housing revolving fund infusions, shown on the next slide. This slide is essentially the same as the prior year, but showing the emphasis of the infusions, which are in the green bars, but are the lighter shade of green. On the right-hand side, you see the makeup of the infusions between DERF and rental housing involved. The next financial statement is statement of net position, which is like a balance sheet. So it is a snapshot of the financial position of the corporation as of specific date, such as June 30, 24, the last day of the fiscal year. The statement all of the corporation's resources or assets and deferred outflows of resources and all that the corporation owes, its liabilities and deferred inflows of resources. The difference between the two equals the corporation's net position. So the second financial statement, government-wide net position trend. In this graphic, it depicts the trend of assets, liabilities, and net position over the last 5 years. And over time, the change in net position serves as a useful indicator of the corporation's financial health. So as you see at the bottom, the blue line represents the liabilities. Because there were no bond issuances over the last several years, the trend was relatively flat. In fiscal year 2019, outstanding bonds were paid off. And in because of the sale of the rental housing system portfolio. And in fiscal year 20, the uptick was due to an accrual of 250 million due to the state to assist the state with the impacts of COVID-19, where Act 4, Session 20 authorized the Director of Finance to swap out 250 million received previously of general funds in the rental housing revolving fund to replace or swapped out with taxable geo bond funds. When we do issue bonds in the near future for home ownership programs, the outstanding bond balances will drive up liabilities. The assets represented by the green line continued its rising trend, largely due to the infusions. 481 million was transferred into the rental housing revolving fund and 70 million into DERF. We also acquired Pagay Institute for approximately 41 million, which we have refurbished and housing all survivors. With liabilities trending relatively low and steady, the net position trend aligns with the assets, with a balance of 2.3 billion as of fiscal year 24. Composition of governmental funds are comprised of these funds as shown here. But drilling down into the government funds financials, fiscal year 24. First off, as of fiscal year 23, we had 103 million of due from state in geo bond funds, which were reduced to 5.6 million for fiscal year 24. As 101 million comprised of infusions for rental housing revolving fund and DERF of 101.5 million were transferred to these funds during fiscal year 24. And that was offset by about 3.9 million balance from the Hagay acquisition. So as of fiscal year 23, 22.6 million of cash balance and corresponding liabilities due to state under the homeowner assistance fund, half for Oahu were reduced to 1.4 million. During fiscal year 24, the Department of Budget and Finance reduced the subaward for this program by 16.4 million from the Oahu program to redirect these funds to the Maui Island after the devastating wildfires. So HHFDC returned the 16.4 million in January 24, as well as expended 4.8 million throughout the year for the program. This one is the governmental funds, revenues and expenses. So for presentation purposes, the net transfers in are included in revenues and net transfers out are included in expenses. And this slide represents the comparative governmental funds, revenues and expenses between 24 and 23 fiscal years. Fiscal year 24 revenues comprised of 506 million, which was made up of 450 million in infusions, 45 million for Hagai Institute, 5 million to start up the new fund, Affordable Home Ownership Revolving Fund. In comparison to during fiscal year 23, revenues comprised of 63 million of allotted appropriations, of which 61.5 million were for infusions. 41.5 of that was for Rental Housing Revolving Fund and 20 million for DERF. And 1.1 million was for IT upgrades. As for expenses, during fiscal year 24, we transferred 603 million, comprised of 551 million in infusions. We expended 41 million for Hagai Institute, which we transferred as a capital asset to the DERF. Generally, general funds appropriations lapse in the same fiscal year. Therefore, appropriations are expended in the same period. Thus, you see that revenues and expenses for the general fund are fairly close. Geo bond fund appropriations generally lapse 18 months or longer after the appropriations, and they usually lapse on even numbered years. So with fiscal year 24, even number year, a lot of the allotted appropriations from fiscal year 23 and 24 were transferred into the funds in 24 before the lapse dates. In fiscal year 24, 45 million of geo bond funds was appropriated for the acquisition of Hagai. And we closed on this transaction in March 24 at $41 million in expenses. And in addition, 101.5 million was transferred out to DERF and Rental Housing Revolving Fund for infusions. The next set of funds is the proprietary funds. And here is a listing of the numerous funds. For the proprietary funds, revenue expenses, this graphic compares 24 fiscal year versus 23. For fiscal year 24, revenues increased year over year, primarily due to the transfers in of 603 million from the government funds. Interest income increased by 27.5 from 27.5 million to 41.4 million due to higher interest yields and on the increased principal balances. Advance taxes were capped at the statutory maximum of 38 million in both years. In fiscal year 23, 44.6 million was transferred from Rental Housing Revolving, shown as an expense, to DERF. Rental Housing Revolving Fund received tax-exempt bond funds, which we transferred from Rental Housing Revolving Fund to DERF because the funds were not going to be easily expended because of the restrictions of the LIHTC programs. As for expenses, program expenses increased by 7.8 million to 12.7 million, which is approximately 50% of total proprietary fund. Personnel services increased by 2 million to 8.6 million, or 34% of total proprietary fund expenses. Personnel services expense included a one-time accrual for the temporary hazard pay and related fringe benefits, which amounted to about 1.3 million, which will be paid out of the proprietary funds in the near future for qualified employees that worked in the office or in the field during the COVID-19 pandemic. The employees are paid half of the amount in October 2024, and the remaining balance will be paid in March 25. So this graphic depicts the fiscal year 24 revenues and expenses of the significant proprietary funds. The Rental Housing Revolving Fund and DERF comprise the majority of activities in the proprietary funds. This graph depicts the assets, liabilities, and net position balances of fiscal year 24. For the proprietary funds, the net position increased by approximately 667 billion. Rental Housing Revolving Fund. It is the largest of our proprietary funds. Rental Housing Revolving Fund net position increased by 440.6 million to 1.58 billion as of fiscal year 24. Fiscal year 24, Rental Housing Revolving Fund net position increased as a result of net transfers of 481.5 million of infusions, advance taxes up to the statutory maximum of 38 million, interest earned on mortgages, notes, loans, and investments of 22.4 million, offset by 1.6 million of operating expenses. The interest income increased by 9.4 million, primarily due to the higher interest yields on the larger average principal balances. And in fiscal 23, expenses were significantly higher by 44.6 million due to the transfer of the tax-exempt bonds to the DERF. Is DERF. The DERF is the second largest proprietary fund, where net position increased by 117 million to 117 million to 645.1 million as of fiscal year 24. The increase in net position was primarily due to transfers of 102 million, interest income of 15.7 million, rental income of 2.3 million, and other income of 2.1 million, and operating expenses of 1 million. Interest income increased by 3.6 billion due to the higher interest yields on larger average principal balances. Rental income decreased by 500,000 as expected since HHFDC sold the rental property Julia Ikanu'u as of June 23. The overall contingency, I wanted to note that the corporation has been named as a defendant in numerous cases arising out of the Maui wildfires. And as of June 30, management is of the opinion that any liability arising therefrom will not have a material adverse effect on the corporation's financial position if it is funded by legislative appropriations from the state general fund. As mentioned, we accrued the temporary hazard pay of 1.3 million. So this particular accrual was for employees that were entitled that had worked during COVID-19 in the office or out in the field. And they were paid out in increments of tiers, 20,000 if they work 420 days or more. Tier 2 was 10,000 if they work below 420 days. With that, essentially concludes the financial aspect of my presentation, but I also wanted to cover some of our highlights and accomplishments for the year. During the year, HHFDC deployed the Hawaii Fire Relief Program days after the devastating Maui wildfires. This program housed 609 displaced families. For HHFDC's efforts, it was recognized by NASHA and the Hawaii Digital Government Summit. The HHFDC IT office worked long hours from the start and was able to deploy it quickly with available resources. We also acquired Hale'olaihe, which was intended for workforce housing, but it was pivoted as a result of the Maui wildfires, and it is now serving to house Maui wildfire survivors. We also undertook the vital role of administering the Hawaii Housing Emergency Proclamation as it pertained to processing waivers. And the RESS team deployed the DERF Equity Pilot Program, which has been well received by developers, buyers, and the real estate community. And we also delivered and placed in service 1,085 housing units with an additional 9,680 units in a 5-year production projection. The next slide shows the projects that were completed. And the resources that were used. Next slide is the 5-year production projection. And we have the composition of new construction and preservation, as well as whether it's for rent or for sales. So a total of 9,680 is projected. Also in the works, we have new programs planned. We have the down payment assistance program, which will provide down payment assistance up to 60,000 to qualifying households, as well as a mortgage assistance program, which will provide below market interest rate loans to qualifying households. That concludes my presentation. So HHFDC staff recommends that the corporation's board of directors accept audited financial statements of the corporation for the fiscal year ended June 30th.
Thank you, Holly, for the presentation. I want to ask first if there's anyone in the public who would like to give testimony on this agenda item. Your opportunity.
I also wanted to mention that we have online the auditors, Kim Miyoshi, who's a principal, and Lance Chi, who's a manager of the audit team. So if they would like to say anything.
Welcome to now if they'd like to offer. Yeah.
And they were very professional. They worked in the office on site. And they met the deliverables, and we were very happy to work with them.
Okay, I think directors, do you have any questions for Holly staff? Yes.
It's all over that thing.
Okay, if not, I'd like to call for the question. All those in favor to accept the audited report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, and thank you to your team for all the
Thank
good
you.
work.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going next to agenda item 3B, which is to approve an extension to the rental housing revolving fund letter of intent for the Hale Uhiwai Nalu Phase 2 project located in Kapolei, Oahu. TMK number 1-1-1-013-052. Can I have a motion to approve? We have a motion and we have a second. Before we hear from staff, Mr. Nguyen, I'd like to ask, does anyone in the public would like to give testimony on this agenda item? This is an opportunity to do so. Are you here to give testimony?
Yes, I am.
Oh, why don't you come on up and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chair Eckler, Vice Chair Ryman, Executive Director Minakami, and members of the board. My name is Craig Nakamoto. I'm the Executive Director of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. I'm going to keep my comments to 3 minutes because I don't want to hear Gordon's 3 minutes. And my testimony has been submitted to you. So our role with respect to CloudBreak is for the Kalaeloa Community Development Districts zoning entitlement agency. So we have been working with CloudBreak and Ms. Taylor on the improvement permit for the improvements. We've also been working with them on getting some of those SHFD concerns ironed out. And what I can tell you, Chair, is that once all of the appropriate documentation is received from SHFD, we're ready to issue an improvement permit for the project. So just wanted to let you know that we're ready to do that at this point. And we're in full support of what CloudBreak is doing there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we also did receive your written testimony.
Thank you. Under 3 minutes.
Thank
Thank you.
Anyone have questions?
Yes,
Please.
yeah, I also serve as an ex officio for the Hawaii Community Development Authority.
Okay. Okay, great. If we could, thank you.
Thank you.
And if we could ask Mr. Nguyen to come up and present the 4 action.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. My name is Jimmy Nguyen with the Finance Branch, reporting on agenda item 3B to extend the rental housing revolving fund letter of intent for the Hale Uhiwai Nalu Phase 2 project. So some background. The awardee is CloudBreak Hawaii 2 LLC, and the developer is CloudBreak Hawaii. The project comprises of 50 low-income rentals on a roughly 30,000 square foot site off Shangri-La Street in Kapolei on the island of Oahu. Now, this will be a 4-story residential building planned with a picnic area, community room, elevator, and laundry room. All units will be studios. The project will target families at 100% and below of the area median income and has an affordability period of 75 years. The project site is currently secured via an enhanced use lease with the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the total development costs for the project are roughly $14 million. So the project was originally awarded on April 11th, 2019 as the final award for the 2018 funding round, where it received $3.3 million in state funds from the RHRF program. This award was further extended and increased in the November 2024 for action. The initial deadline for financial closing was January 31st, 2020. Now, the board was given has given the project 6 extensions as described in the 4 action. And now we present the final extension request from the developer for the Hale Uhiwai Nalu Phase 2 project. So staff evaluated the extension request on the basis of site control, entitlements, permits, financing commitments, and an updated schedule and milestones. So on the site control, awardee has site control through the VA's enhanced use lease program, where military land is repurposed into affordable housing. On entitlements and permits, awardee is expecting their improvement permit from HCDA in Q1 of this quarter, 2025. Financing commitments, Gershman Investment Corporation, the senior lender, remains committed to their senior loan of $5.2 million. And on the updated schedule milestones, the biggest milestone we expect is just the improvement permit in Q1. And a short financial closing is expected in Q2. I'll let the developer speak more to this, but developer will update us on the status of their SHIFT requirements and the progress in meeting those. Each area was deemed reasonable and acceptable to staff, and the details of which are provided in the for action you see before you. Staff recommendation is to extend the RHRF LOI dated April 15, 2019, and amended on November 17, 2023 for the Hali'u Vainalu Phase 2 project to October 31st, 2025, subject to the requirements as set in the for action dated April 11, 2019, and November 9, 2023. And to the following conditions as well. No further extension shall be granted by HHFDC. Failure to meet the amended LOI deadline shall result in the revocation of the RHRF award and a prohibition on developer from applying for any HHFDC resources for 12 months from the RHRF LOI loan closing deadline of October 31st, 2025. And we also recommend to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. Now, at this time, I have developer Rachel Taylor. She is here to brief the board on the status and the plans for this project moving forward in 2025. I also want to thank her for coming out in person from Kapolei too. She's on crutches. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but her commitment to affordable housing is certainly commendable.
So here with me in person is Brad Bridwell, who's part of our development team as well. And so we do have a little slideshow just to kind of explain a little bit of just what Cloudbreak Communities is. I know there's a lot of new faces when we first came up here with you guys. So just to kind of go over that with you. And then just explain kind of the hurdles that we had with SHIFT in the past that thank goodness we're at the end of now. Let me go ahead and that's the next thing there. Gotcha. Okay, just an introduction. Cloudbreak Communities is just a brand name for a family of mission-driven LLCs, each engaged in the development of supportive housing for homeless, formerly homeless, and at-risk veterans. We're a leading provider of affordable housing solutions dedicated to creating thriving communities where individuals can grow. The Cloudbreak Communities has successfully completed the development of over 3,000 housing units in 5 states, and doing so has created housing for over 20,000 veterans. 1,800 units are managed directly by Cloudbreak Communities and 1,200 that we work with other agencies. At Cloudbreak Communities, we believe that everyone deserves a safe and affordable place to call home. And together with our supportive service providers, we're able to deliver the much needed care for our veteran residents. So our philosophy here is basically our approach towards developing special needs housing stems from the framework and believing that all parties' talents are maximized when empowered to operate within their expertise. So fiercely loyal to the concept, collaborate in everything and be redundant in nothing is with which we assemble the finest local teams of public, private, nonprofit, and community-based organizations in regard to planning, developing, financing, service development, and coordination. Cloudbreak Communities focus primarily on acquiring and planning of real estate, construction, property management, while delivering on needs of the supportive service providers that operate within our sites. We believe in creating a safe, clinically supported community where veterans can reach their highest level of independence and personal satisfaction. This is just a little view of our what we call wraparound care for our veterans. Here you see the top Cloudbreak Communities. That's us. We are a private entity, housing development, property management, community development. One of our other arms is the VA, which is the Veterans Affairs. They are the landowner. We have right now currently a 75+ year EUL with them. They are also a commercial tenant on site as well. They are veteran service provider services there on campus. We also, one of our main service providers is US Vets or USVI. They are a nonprofit. They're also a commercial tenant there. We have them on site, and they have a number of veteran programs that they also manage there. So VA does own the parcels, which has also pushed us towards a section 106 with SHIFT, and but the actual buildings and everything is owned and operated by Campbell Anderson. So just explaining what service-enriched affordable housing is. Right now, we have contracted support services. Our main service provider is US Vets. They have a long-term supportive housing case management service. They have a 24-hour staff, which is an ESO office for all programs that are there. They supply transportation to the veterans. They also have a grant per diem and emergency housing program with the VA. And it's also access to a number of other US Vets programs that they also have. We also have on site the other commercial tenant, the VA. So they have 6 offices on site with 20+ staff members. That's case managers, liaisons for the different programs that we have on campus. We also have the HUD badge support services. Those are with any of our Section 8 vouchers and such that helps veterans get housing that don't have enough income. And we also have with them the grant per diem, which is our transitional housing that's there, and our emergency housing support services. It kind of just shows the full wraparound care that's provided on campus. This right here is our first phase, which is already done, building 35, just to give you a look. This is an exact sister of our new building that's coming up, building 42 that we're before you now on. So it is a 50-unit building, permanent supportive housing, all studios. Our first phase was done in 2018. Showing you just a space of the rooms that they have there. Look like inside what we're looking at here. All of our units come with all utilities included. So the veteran or campus or resident only pays for rent. Water, sewer, everything is included in the rent costs there. All support services again are on site. Local amenities, community events that we have. Then we'll jump ahead to our future developments. This is a rendering of what we're looking at for our next 3 phases. The one in the middle here, if you can see here, this is the building that we're looking at first, building 42, that we're before you right now today. This right here will be our first building of 50 units, and it'll also help us lay the infrastructure for the remaining 3 buildings that will come up behind it. And this is just showing you just the APE. This is the area here that will have the construction for the 4 new buildings here between Shangri-La and Hancock Street. And this is just a side elevation showing you the little blueprint there, the side of it, and the front of the new building. And this right here is just an overview of exactly how that APE looks, where we're planning to place the buildings. So this is again phase 2 that we're in now, and then phase 3 and 4 that will follow after. It's just a quick little update with SHIP-D. Just a lot of the projects that we've had of holdups has just been with the Section 106 and the 6E. So I know we submitted this originally. I know you have in your board packets just our timeline of just how long things have taken with SHIP-D. We did have to end up getting the governor's office involved to help support us, and HCDA has been a tremendous support as well. So we finally were able to get things moving. Our original submittal with them was in May of 2023. And just showing here, you can see that at that point in time, we uploaded everything into the state's HICREST system. I'm waiting still for all the responses. October 16th, we also did more testing on the soil there in the ground. We submitted that as well to SHIP-D, but no response back from them. So finally, in March of 2024, was the first response that we had, and they asked us to do some revisions to the AIS report that we had submitted to them. April 17th, we did all the submissions that they requested and uploaded it back to SHIP-D. At that point, we received no response again. So at July 25th, we uploaded the same report a second time, just to follow up with them in the system, and nothing. So just again, the number of responses to go in and waiting is what took so long. December 1st, 2024, which was 229 calendar days after our submission for the revised archaeological report, SHIP-D then requested 52 additional items to be done. And so it was just some of the back and forth on why the additional items now after, having over 1.5 years and not having these things requested before. So just in more meetings, talks between SHIP-D, Cloudbreak, and the governor's office, we were able to just get things together. So January 3rd, Susan Lebo, who is the archaeology branch chief with SHIP-D, she did concede that our AIS was sufficient to move forward. We did not have to make the changes that were there. And they also just requested that we do AMP, which is archaeological monitoring plan, at a low level. So this be a spot check and not anything of a daily check or having someone on site. So we are more than willing to comply with that. And it's also been saying that the AMP does not have to be submitted, reviewed, or accepted before SHFD finally gives us the concurrence with the VA's finding. So at this point, the VA has just received the letter that they have to submit with everything that SHFD has requested. So we should have signatures from the VA within the next week. And at that point, SHFD should have no problem with just signing off concurrence to give to HCDA so that we can then get the ready improvement permit. So it's been a whole fiasco, but we're finally down again to the end. So this is a requesting for us just to move forward with this full extension, as opposed to just for, the end of this month so we can get this completed. And as far as with moving forward with our lender, everything from our HUD applications already been submitted. They're actually also just waiting on this SHFD concurrence because it's section 106. They have to have that. So then once that is completed, then again, we'll be able to move forward with that and move on to closing with HHFDC as well. That is a wrap up of exactly what we have going on here, so you guys know where we are with everything. You have any questions for me?
Directors, Director Evans?
Oh, thank you, and thank you for your patience and diligence. I note that the studio's range of rent goes up to 1,700 for this new one. How do these homeless veterans manage to pay 1,700?
So with our being affordable housing, we do have a rent range. So with that, it means that according to their income will determine how much is charged for rent. So a lot of our veterans also have with HUD a voucher, that is a Section 8 voucher that they have, and also assist them with rent. Plus a number of other programs. Hardly any of our veterans have to pay their own security deposit because we work closely with other organizations that will pay that, like SSDF that's here in the state. So just every single resource that we possibly could have, we pull together to make sure that we can make sure all our veterans can come in. So most of them will have income through benefits, if not work income, or benefits through support services.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Director? I do have a few questions I'd like to ask.
Sure.
What was the trigger for the Section 106 review?
Because of the fact that we do sit on federal land.
Federal land, okay,
Yes.
so this project was first approved for financing in 2019. I think I've been on the board long enough through most of your extensions, probably.
Right.
I think all of them, actually.
Right, yes, I remember you.
A little older now. And so I guess my question is, and to be fair to SHFD,
Mhm.
because they are overburdened with so many reviews.
Yes.
If this was, it's been federal land since 2019, why did it take so long to initiate the 106?
So the 106 for this one was just for this particular phase. We'd already received concurrence for our previous phase that we'd done and built the building I showed you here 35. So that was already done. And actually we had no problems with getting the concurrence from SHFD. So even if having all that information, it's just the parcel over, it still was a long time for that. But yeah, so they were familiar already with our project from the first phase that we had with them. And when we submitted it in, it was just for going in with this phase. And that was in May of 2023. We submitted it.
Also, having been through some of the prior time extensions, I know some of the one of the primary reasons I think for some of the extensions was to resolve issues with the VA on the lease.
Yes.
I know that took a long time, and COVID interrupted a lot of that. So I don't want this to be presented as it's all SHFD's fault, because I don't think it is.
Right.
I think there were multiple years of delay under the lease negotiation, and it still seems like you're still working on a modification.
That is true, yes.
And my question about that is, does that have any impact at all for your closing your rental housing revolving fund? Because you're looking at modifying and having a separate lease for each phase, is that?
That is correct, yes.
Where things stand right now today, does this ongoing modification have any impact on your ability to close on the current phase?
Right, so we have been, as far as the one I want to back up. Yes, you're right. It's definitely not been a shifty from day one thing for all of our extensions. That is definitely not the case at all. That's just from the last meeting that we had here to this one that we've had the big hang up. There have been different things, especially with the pandemic. And then, of course, after the pandemic, changes in costs of labor, material, construction, period went up. So that's when we came back to you guys then. So in no way is this all one department at all. No, that's not the case. But then the answer to you for the EUL. Yeah, so here we've been working very closely with HUD and the VA on finalizing up the EUL. We actually just received back in hand their final version of it. So we have that up for review from our team, collaborative team now. So we don't see any problem with moving forward with getting to.
Does it stand in the way of closing?
No,
It's not. Okay.
no, not staying in the way of closing.
Okay.
I'm sorry, staff has told developer that in order to go towards closing, we will need like a substantially final EUL sign.
So when do you anticipate that?
I don't have a date on when it will be to actually finalize it. And we just received the last final version back for review. Yeah, so I know I'd say within the next month. I don't know if you have any other.
I just,
Brad?
both HUD and VA lawyers have already done all of their back and forth and sent the final version to us. We would anticipate within the next week or two.
Okay.
that we're into an actual, this is the last draft of the, so we're quite close.
Okay.
There's no more lawyers involved, so
Right.
which is a good thing.
Okay,
Sure.
and
Both entities are comfortable.
I just, a comment, I want to thank Mr. Nakamoto for coming today, because I think your testimony and your correspondence helped really clarify a lot of the questions that I know I had before today's meeting. Thank you for that. I wanted to ask Mr. Nguyen if you are looking with a high level of certainty to close this project in the second quarter of 2025, why the extension till October 31st, 2025? Can we consider shortening that up?
No, I would recommend the board stick with the October 31st, 2025 deadline. This is just in case of an act of God, or I mean, Chair, I've worked on a lot of closings for the corporation, and there's always inevitably something that slips up, some kind of last minute change, or like some kind of issue. And this is normal for pretty much all of the closings I've dealt with, and I just would rather be cautious. For me, my worst fear is having a project go right up to the finish line and then having it suddenly fail because of, just.
Thank you for that. So I before we, that's my last question, but I have one more comment, and that is that it's not unprecedented, but it's kind of rare that staff would recommend this is your final extension for development. Because we've hung in there with this development for many years, especially given who your beneficiaries are. We want to make sure we can help them. And so I think this board's been very patient with the team, your team, and we want to see this project get across the finish line very much. And but I do have to say this is their last recommendation to extend time. So it's really incumbent upon you and your team to get it done.
For sure. Yes. Definitely carry that. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any? Okay, if not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're going on next to item 3C of the agenda. This is to approve an extension to resolution number 174, which provides for official intent with respect to the issuance of Hula May multifamily tax exempt revenue bonds for the Honuala Living Community Project located in Kailua Kona, Hawaii. EMP numbers 37-4-2022 004-014 and 092. Is there a motion to approve? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. We have a second. Is there anyone in the public who would like to offer testimony on this agenda item? Hearing none, we will turn it to staff. Good morning.
Chair, Vice Chair, Board members, Yu Nakamura, Finance Branch, reporting on agenda item 3C to extend resolution 17 Honua Ula Living Community Project. Facts, the awardee is Honua Ula Living Community LP, and the developer is Urian and Synergy Development. Project includes 104 low-income rentals and 1 manager's unit, 6 acres of land off Yalaka Street in Flint. There are 4 residential multi-level buildings planned with elevators, playground, barbecue, pavilion, and laundry room. Now, I just want to note that the plans that are in your action have been updated since award, so new images will be shared in the developer's presentation at the.
Oh, okay.
There are 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom plan types ranging in size from 600 to 1,200 square feet. The project will target families at 60 and below of your area median income as an affordable commitment period of 45 years. The project site is currently secured via a lease with the new owner, Kekoa Real Estate Holdings, and the total development cost for the project are estimated at $52 million. Some background: project was originally awarded with the 2022 funding round where it received $25.9 million in tax-exempt bonds from the HMF program. The initial deadline for bond issuance was July 14, 2023. On July 13, 2023, the board approved a first extension of 12 months to Resolution 174 to July 14, 2024. On July 8, 2024, the Executive Director administratively approved a second extension of 6 months to January 14, 2025. On December 18, 2024, the ORE submitted a request for a third extension to Resolution number 174. Staff evaluated the extension request in the areas of site control, entitlements and permits, financing commitments, and updated schedule and milestones, and each area was deemed to be reasonable and acceptable, of which the details are provided for in the for action. Now, during this time frame, the project's progress was negatively impacted by legal matters with the landowner. The developer has recently brought closure to this issue with the acquisition of the property in October of 2024. Costs have also risen significantly during the same period, of which the developer is currently working on mitigating. So with this, staff recommends the board approve the following. Extend resolution number 174, along with the deadline to issue HMF bonds for the Honua Ula Living Community Project by 12 months, February 16th, 2026, and authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this correction. At this time, the developer would like to have a brief presentation for the board on the status and their future plans.
Good morning, everyone. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Executive Director. My name is Carlo Morales. I'm the CEO of Honua Ula. Happy to see you here once again, and appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on the project. Just for a quick overview, this project is on the Big Island on the Kona side, with the 2 parcels on the left with roughly 6 acres. Highlighted in yellow just as a reference is Kelikehe Elementary School, also close to the intermediate school and high school. This project started in May of 2020, and we took pride in recognizing the circumstances of 2020 and starting this project. We were awarded in July 2022, as Jay had mentioned, and a few different highlights of the project of 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. Right now, we're projected to be the first project to have 4 bedrooms in Kona. Kona through HUD is identified as a low poverty area, which allowed us the opportunity to receive 40% of the project with 44 project vouchers, which is a sign, obviously, of support from Hawaii County. And our commitment to continue this project and all the resources we spent both in time and in monetary value is roughly $2 million. And we are committed to seeing this project to the end, and we'll do so. As Jay had mentioned, one of the items that was part of our delay was the less pendants that was put onto the property that involved the previous owner of the property. And in October 2025, we were able to, through a friendly partnership close to our project, was able to purchase the fee simple from the U.S. government through the U.S. Marshal's Office. The terms of that lease agreement stayed the same, continuing with a 55-year ground lease with 10-year extension options. In the past, it has been recognized by the governor's office as well as Hawaii County that 2 of our projects in Honolulu and Hawaii Court both are in the top 10 projects in the pipeline for Hawaii County. And just a quick view of the site plan and different revisions of the project that we've had to do to accommodate some of the lot boundaries that were tied to the ground lease and the lot consolidation. So this would be a newer version of the site plan and how we intend to lay out the buildings. Different rendering. So in terms of next steps, we come with great confidence in our ability to protect our building permits in the coming months. The fee simple purchase of the property and the ground lease that was executed helps us with our lender conversations. And now that there's no more less pendants on the site, allows us to continue that path. We've had interactions with the planning department as well as the building department regarding the permit set that has been submitted. And with some revisions that we're looking to make, we are hoping for reductions in our construction budget, and are at this point planning to, in the next funding round next month, reapply for any shortfalls that we may have.
Thank you. Directors, do you have any questions? Morales? Well, I'll ask a question.
Absolutely.
Although it wasn't mentioned in the before action, it is mentioned in your correspondence of December 18th requesting the extension that you will be seeking additional funding in the 2025 round. What is your financing gap currently that you project?
Right now, it's I think hanging around $10 million, but we are looking to see what value engineering tactics that can play into that, and eventually reducing that.
If I can ask, I don't know, what source of financing are you going to apply for?
So additional bonds as well as RHRF Tier 1.
What is, it's the last few years have been highly competitive with these funding rounds.
Yes.
And you've been oversubscribed for several years on end. So if you're not successful in receiving the funding you need to fill your gap, do you have a backup plan?
That's a great question. So, one of the key aspects of our project and where we are right now is the close proximity to getting our building permits, which would allow different conversations to happen. And so our goal right now is to be as shovel ready as possible for the funding round, which I think would be highlighted, well. And then I think from there, we would be able to identify where our budget really stands. And so the focus has been getting the building permits and taking it one step at a time. The year and a half that's spent with the federal investigation and less pendants, we were in closing discussions with our lenders at the time that all went down. And so when you look at the original award of 2022 and a project needing to prepare itself for that application, that was in the mix of 2021. And the world of finances and construction costs have really increased since that time period. So I think we've weathered the worst of the storms, and the new ground lease is sort of the fresh air that's needed for the project.
I have another question. I think it's more for staff. I don't know. Dave, since you've already received approval for bonds and 4% tax credits, have we not with past projects helped to fill the gap by awarding additional financing without having to go back through a competitive route? And could you maybe share some insights on that, where things stand with this project, why they would come through another competitive funding round as opposed to not doing that and coming before the board for some additional resources to get funded?
Thanks for the question, Chair. So typically when projects come in with costs that are higher than their budgets at award, we have to go back and rescore the project and make sure they're still meritorious, because it's a completely different project, right? So we do that first. And if the cost increase is significant enough, we do not process over-the-counter increases. Their option is to come back and reapply competitively as a new project. Now, if they do receive an award, we can still go back and process it via amendments to the old awards. But if we erase the old awards, they lose the deposits and everything that's already been put in place. So this is a more efficient way of proceeding. So we did have projects in the past that have reapplied, got an award, and we processed the increases accordingly. The Lower Holly was one of them. So this has been done in the past.
Yeah, so to add to what Jay's saying, that this is just a more efficient process. The project, because the scope changes dramatically and it is a brand new, almost like a new project, as Jay was mentioning, they have to compete with the other applicants. There's no consideration, I guess you could say. The criteria standard has to be met in competition with all applicants for that new round that they're applying in. Jay did mention the Lilo Holly project, which was one that went through that exact process, came in, competed, and they did close relatively soon after that.
Okay.
Yeah, but they did have to come in and basically compete again.
Okay, yeah, and one of the reasons I'm asking these questions is in terms of the length of the extension, which is let me just look here. It's out through January of next year. And
Yeah, we're recommending a 12-month extension. So
that to kind of ask that question earlier of before action before this one about, is that too much time to extend, or is that in your judgment the right amount of time?
usually that's the longest period that you would extend for. And we're hopeful that the project will submit an application and get an award. And we usually make awards recommendations to the board in summer. So if they receive an award, that gives them about 6 months to proceed to closing. So that seems to be about the right time frame.
You see your project in a position to be able to close at that time by the summer. There are no other obstacles in your way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when we last saw each other, there was the expression of confidence of being able to navigate the circumstances of the federal government, which we were able to do so with the purchase as well as the new executed ground lease. Your question to asking over the counter is a really good one. But under our circumstances with the less pendants, up till November, we weren't even in a position to even make that request legitimately. And so now that we've weathered that storm and looking at the timelines and the additional application and a possible July, August award, then we're looking at, 60 to 90 days closing with our debt lenders and the staff with HFDC, and then, we're back on track. So I do want to express the need for the extension. We are in the position to finalize our building permits. The circumstances of our budget are still being weighed out. We'll identify that for our application, and with great certainty, I say that we are closing in 2025 and finally getting this project to our community.
No, I think, Chair, to your point, I think, I don't think the scope of the project is changing. It's just the cost of the project is changing.
Correct.
Is that what I'm hearing, right? I mean, a 10% gap in terms of what is previously, I mean, if I'm looking at a $50 million project, that's like a 20% increase.
Correct.
Cost over the course of the last 4 years.
Correct.
I mean, I understand the need, the process of like rescoring because it costs more money. But then, I mean, you rescore it, you put it back with everybody else. But if that's happening in the overall community because cost escalation is happening, there's no different. If we approved it back then, based upon we like this particular project, but it costs a little bit more now, it doesn't mean that there's going to be another project that's going to be cheaper because everybody is going up.
Correct.
So I think maybe that's more of a question for the board.
Should do reasonably well on readiness.
Absolutely, and that's the goal. And the staff at HFDC have been amazing in our communication and answering our questions. And so we feel confident in our position. The building permits are close to fruition, and that all leads to all the different requirements for our debt lenders and obviously for HFDC's lending purposes.
Okay, well, we won't know the outcome of the competitive round until probably June or July. It's typical timeframe. So please, I would like to ask staff to come back or put this project back on the agenda one way or the other. Once that is, the awards are made. And anyone else have questions? Directors? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
And at this time, we're gonna just take a 10-minute break. Come back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back from recess. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is item 3D. And this is to approve an extension to the rental housing revolving fund letter of intent for the Hualalai Court Apartments project located in Hilo, Hawaii, TMK number 32-4-028-009. Can I have a motion to approve? Is there a second? We have a second. Anyone in the public would like to offer testimony on this agenda item? Hearing none, we'll turn it over to the staff.
Thank you, Chair. Dean Nakamura, again with the Finance Branch, reporting on agenda item 3D. Extend the RHRF letter of intent Hualalai Court Apartments project. The facts are the awardee is Hualalai Court LLC. The developer is Marion and Synergy Development. The project comprises 103 affordable rentals and one manager's unit on 3.29 acres on Hualalai Street in Hilo. There are 4 residential buildings planned with a playground, picnic area, and laundry room. And the unit types include 2 bedrooms ranging in size from 1,040 to 1,260 square feet. The project will target families at 100% and below of FEMA, and the affordable commitment period is 51 years. The project site is currently secured via a $2.5 million sale agreement with the current landowner, Vincent Tide Trust. Total development costs for the project are estimated at $55 million. Some background, Hualalai was originally awarded with the 2022 RHRF Tier 2 funding round. We received the project award for $25.5 million in November of 2022. HHFDC issued a RHRF letter of intent, which the initial deadline for loan closing was November 10th, 2023. On October 27th, the executive director administratively approved an initial extension of 9 months to August 10th, 2024. And on August 5th, 2024, the executive director administratively approved a second extension of 6 months to February 10th of 2025. And on December 18th, 2024, the awardee submitted a request for a third extension. Staff evaluated the extension requests in the areas of site control, entitlements and permits, financing commitments, updated schedule and milestones. Each area was deemed reasonable and acceptable, which details are provided for in the for action. Since the award, project was also subject to inflation-driven cost increases, for which the developer has re-engineered its plans to address these concerns. The project has a public hearing scheduled with the Hawaii County Council this month for the final approval of their 201H request. So with this, staff recommends the board approve the following. Extend the deadline for the Hualalai Court Appointments project by 12 months to February 10th, 2026, and authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this action. And Carlo is here to also make a brief presentation on this project.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Executive Director, for the opportunity to give you updates on this project. Hualalai Court, as mentioned, is on the Hilo side of the Big Island, literally across the street from the Hawaii County Police Department, walking distance from the various different county offices. Our units consist of 2 and 3 bedrooms, 44 2-bedrooms, 63 bedrooms. We do have the intention of 53 plus years of affordability for this project. And some more recent renderings. Design. Barbecue area with a little play area for the kids. This project started in November of 2020. Again, with the world in chaos, it was important for us to see if we could do something both sides of the island. We had originally intended to do 100% senior LIHTC project, but unfortunately, that was not something that was feasible. And, it did not pencil. We were blessed with the opportunity of tier two and awarded in November of 2022, which saved the project and was allowed us to continue our efforts with some minor changes of from maybe 1 to 2 bedrooms and then going for workforce 2 to 3 bedrooms. Hawaii County has been very, very supportive of the project. The extensive investment in our value engineering is what we're hoping to reduce the gap that has been caused by the increased interest rates and construction cost, and our commitment of the resources spent to make this project come to fruition is happening on a daily basis. The increase of interest rates, and as it was noted earlier, and how all projects are affected by that. Just to give you some color to what that means, for this particular project, we had estimated that interest rates would be conservatively at some juncture of time when we were going to be awarded at 4.55. And every percent of increase basically lost $3 million of construction debt. So with interest rates that have gone as high as 7%, and it's a little bit lower currently, have been the main reasons for the gap that has happened since our award. Our engineering team and our architect have been done an amazing job on trying to find different value engineering options. We will have updated construction documents by next month and be able to then make sure that we are within the budget that we think that we can get or of the original award. So this project is needing the support of an extension. Again, with great confidence, we are on path to take the revisions of the permit set that has been submitted already and then take that to the finish line with our building permits in a very fair manner.
Are there any questions, directors? You mentioned that you're going before the council with a 201H application.
Yes.
Does that include any zoning approvals?
Yes, it's the zoning will go to multifamily zoning. The history of the property with the landowner is that he had taken the property from a single family RS zoning to multifamily in the past. So there's been precedence of this zoning already. And because the project wasn't built, then the zoning reverted back to single family. So the review from the planning director, the planning department as a whole, and also receiving our planning approval based upon that multifamily zoning has all been lined up already.
As part of the 201H application, I'm not really familiar with Hawaii County that much, but did you go through public community meetings?
Yes.
And can you just describe the sentiment for the zoning change?
Yeah, I think because the project has been rezoned, it wasn't a new conversation. There were conditions that were promised during the previous rezone that we upheld to be good neighbors to the concerns that were originally addressed. So things of setbacks, parking, was a concern, fencing. So though we weren't held to those conditions because of the rezone going back to the original zoning, again, trying to be good neighbors and basically trying to bring to fruition the project that was presented probably 10 plus years ago. Those were the basic comments of concern from the community.
And is that your main obstacle to closing at this point?
No, building permits is. So, we've
to get a permit, you have to get your 201 first.
Correct. But right now, the timelines of the building permits is a little bit longer than the 201H. And our application was submitted months ago. But as you go through the process of updating the different council members, They want to understand where you are with the financing. So it was kind of a fine balance between having the timelines of the building permits, knowing that that's going to be tied to our closing of our lending, and would be one of the bigger questions that would pop up with the council members on when are you going to close? We want to approve this project, but when are you closing? So though the application was submitted again months ago, it was just a matter of having the right timing, and now it's the right timing to do so. And especially with the value engineering that we're accomplishing.
And then question J, you know, the recommendation is to extend February 10th of 2026. Is that?
We're doing standard 12.
That's just a standard amount of time.
I'm less concerned with this one, but again, we're going to a 1H hearing, discretionary hearing, so until that's done, we don't know. There seems to be some certainty, at least on the developer's part, that they've done all they could to get this project.
You know, I'm asking these questions because I know a while back we put 201H approvals as a minimum threshold for an application.
So this was part of the tier 2 funding round.
So it wasn't.
That wasn't
factored in. Okay.
So
Okay, thank you.
that's why this one's
From
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround to the time that we knew about the tier 2 opportunity and the application that we had to put together.
okay.
Again, without tier 2, the project would have been dead and we wouldn't have had the opportunity. But I would like to offer the ability to come back to give an update.
Sure.
And because I think within the coming months, we would have really some significant updates to give you all. Would be happy to come here.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Anyone else? Questions?
So, I mean, so you have two projects, right? The other one before it's just out of curiosity and because the permitting process and like you said, what's the average of like the time that it's taking to get permits on what he's money right now?
You know, I would say that the administration from the very top all the way through the different directors have put affordable housing as a high priority. And so I would say that a 4 to 5 month time period is reasonable. And so, you know, there's obviously certain circumstances to be able to achieve that. But I think more importantly, when the director gets involved, the mayor's office and the administration gets involved, the housing department and all they do on a daily basis, and everybody coming to the table to find solutions of efficiency is what I really greatly appreciate from the experience that we've had with both the projects.
4 to 5 months seems pretty darn impressive, actually.
Yeah. Anyone else? Questions? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve, they are.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay, we'll go on to the next agenda item, which is item 3E. This is to approve a dwelling unit revolving fund budget for pre-development costs and interim loan for the Front Street Apartments redevelopment project located in Lahaina, Maui, TMK number 24-5-003-013. May I have a motion to approve this? Okay, and we have a second. Before you present, I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to offer testimony. Hearing none. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. My name is Albert Palmer. I'm the Development Section Chief here at HHFDC. The Front Street Apartments project located in Lahaina, Maui, which consisted of 142 residential units, was destroyed in the August 2023 Lahaina wildfire. Following the destruction of the property, HHFDC and the previous ground lessee mutually terminated the lease and released the regulatory restrictions. Since then, we have been working towards the redevelopment of the property. Adjacent to the Front Street Apartments is the Lahaina Surf project, which was also totaled by the wildfire and will also need to be rebuilt. HHFDC has been working with Hale Mahaolu the owner of the adjacent Lahaina Surf project on the redevelopment plan for Front Street Apartments. This for action requests a dwelling unit revolving fund or DURF budget for the redevelopment project of 5.5 million. The uses of the budget can include an interim pre-development loan to the eligible developer or any expenses incurred directly by HHFDC. Staff anticipates returning to the board most likely next month to seek approval of Hale Mahaolu as the eligible developer for the project and would subsequently work with them on executing documents for the loan. However, to be clear, the loan is for the budget is for the project and could be used for any subsequent developer as well in the event that the current plan does not work out. The terms of the pre-development loan would be principal amount up to 5.5 million less any amounts expended directly by HHFDC. Interest rate of 5% compounded annually. Loan fee of 1% or 1 point. Other terms as determined by the executive director. In order to help expedite the redevelopment of this project, which is on land owned by HHFDC, the loan will have a special condition that it will be forgivable if the redevelopment project is determined to be infeasible due to factors beyond the control of the developer, as determined by either the developer or HHFDC. If that occurs, then all work products, plans, and approvals obtained by the developer using the proceeds of the loan shall be assigned to HHFDC. Staff's recommendation is that the board approve this for action, including the DURF budget of $5.5 million for the project, and authorize the executive director to undertake all actions necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action, subject to the availability of funds, the release of funds by the governor, approval as to form of the applicable documents by the Department of the Attorney General, and execution by the executive director, and compliance with all applicable laws, rules, and regulations, and such other terms and conditions as may be required by the executive director.
Thank you, Albert. Any questions?
I have some questions here. So there's no identified borrower at this point in time or developer. So this is a loan to ourselves.
It's anticipated that Hale Mahaolu will be the borrower.
And Hale Mahaolu are in agreement that it expended by the corporation, that they will take this loan on, and it won't end up as being like, okay, well, this is just cost you guys paid, so we're just gonna use whatever pre-development costs you use.
If we expend any funds directly, they will not be considered drawn by the developer, so that would not be part of the loan.
Normally, this would be a one-time approval, but to expedite the process, knowing that it takes some time to get governor's approval for the award, we're coming forward with the board's approval for the financing first, instead of approving both Hale Mahaolu as the developer and borrower. So this is just to expedite financing for the project.
So I remember when this when the issue of this particular project did come up a couple of months ago. And because this is part of the burn area of Lahaina and everything that has happened, has there been any subsequent discussions around any other additional funding that may go in towards the redevelopment of this area?
Well, there's CDBG-DR funds, which were appropriated by Congress, and waiting for the county's action plan for use of those funds. That could be used possibly as gap financing, things of RHRF for this project. But until we see the county's action plan, we really can't know what those funds might be used for.
That's at least a 6-month process to, and possibly longer. So that would hold up.
So
And also it's Congress's action gave it to Maui County. The state does not have. We can propose, but we don't have the ability to deploy those funds.
do we know that the county in their, I guess, projected plan for the particular area anticipates that this is going to be, again, I mean,
But the
I
county,
think there are like questions, right? I mean, in terms of the rebuilding of Lahaina, I mean, what are they gonna do? You know, would hate for the corporation to go and expend money and then Lahaina comes back or Maui comes back and says, well, no, we want to do something different with the area.
I think the county is still working out their plan for downtown Lahaina, but for Front Street Apartments, it is a part of their long-term recovery plan. So they have specifically listed Front Street Apartments as a vital piece of their recovery.
Anything we want them to allow to be denser, which
Yeah.
is still a conversation we're having.
Yeah, I just, because there's a lot of ifs, right? And I know the corporation, I mean, our fiduciary responsibility, if we want to commit we want to commit $5.5 million, I just want to make sure we go into this thing eyes wide open.
I have a question. Is the county handling the restoration of infrastructure, sewer, water, electrical, or is that included in?
They are handling the restoration of the major off-site systems. So yes, the water systems, the sewer systems. My understanding is that much of that work is underway, and it certainly will be complete by the time this project is ready to build.
Anything else?
Just a quick question
Absolutely.
about that statement about the loan may be forgiven. Due to unfeasible factors beyond the control of the developer as determined by the developer or HHFDC. What does that mean? Because I would hate to get a clause that's where we're down the line and for some reason they want to walk away and they just find out a clause that unfeasible. What does that mean?
Right, so it could be unfeasible, for example, if it's not financially feasible, for some reason, or
Could it just be HHFDC?
It should be agreeable by either both parties or HHFDC, right? Not developer or, right? Because then the developer could walk away pretty much at any time.
Very little risk on the developer side, basically.
I mean, we should share the risk, right?
It's not more.
okay.
So Albert, for clarity, are you changing it to feasible as determined by HHFDC and its sole discretion or HHFDC and the company?
Say and. So then page 2, item 3, C 2, no, sorry, 3C, 3C, all right, 3C, 3C is the item number. The end of that sentence, developer or HHFDC change to developer and HHFDC. We would likely have to be reasonable in our determination. Otherwise, the right doesn't necessarily exist for the developer if we can deny it for no reason.
I think upon mutual agreement by both parties, right?
Right. Yeah.
Questions?
Thanks for the input. And anyone else? Okay, if not, all those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks, thank you.
Thank you.
Going on to the next item, which is 3F of today's agenda. This is to authorize an application for exemptions, statutes, ordinances, and rules pursuant to section 201H-38 Hawaii revised statutes. And approve 1, the certification of HCDC Hawaii Development LLC or other successor entity approved by the executive director as eligible developer pursuant to section 15-307-24 Hawaii Administrative Rules. And 2, project proposal. 3, execution of development documents for approved exemptions, and 4, proceeding as a state affordable housing project under the governor's emergency proclamation relating to affordable housing as approved by the executive director for Alemomi Lanakila Homes Affordable Housing Project located in Hilo, Hawaii, number 2-4-028. 007. Is there a motion to authorize?
Second.
And we have a second. Before you present, I would like to just ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to offer testimony on this agenda item.
Sure, they make a disclosure.
Yes.
Ex officio member of the HPHA board.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, if there's no public testimony, we'll turn it to staff. Please.
Morning, good day, everybody, Chair member. My name is Cameron Lowry, and I'm with the Development Branch. I assisted in the application. November of 2024, the developer submitted an application for 201H exemptions for the proposed Lanakila Homes affordable housing. Project involves the development of new construction, style apartment comprised of 258 units, approximately 253,405 gross square feet residential space, up to 378 parking stalls, 8 bike storage areas, and approximately 30,500 square feet of indoor common areas and amenities, all will be built across 22 buildings in phases on 8.65 acre property owned by the State Hawaii Public Housing Authority, or HPHA. The project is one of the 9 public housing properties that the HPHA intends to develop as part of the Kalemomi redevelopment. The developer is proposing the project as HCDC Hawaii Development LLC, with former partners as the co-developer. Ridge Costa Development Company LLC is the managing member of the development that was selected as the master developer by HPHA for the Kalemomi redevelopment. As far as the further specifications for the project, phase 1 will include 13 3-story buildings involving development of 151 units, between 30 to 60% of the area median income, or AMI, 1 managed unit, and phase 2 will include 9 2-story buildings involving development of 105 units, between 30 to 60% of the AMI, and 1 managed unit. Phases 1 and 2 both include a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Additional details regarding the breakdown in unit type and affordability mix, civic and recreation space, parking counts for phases 1 and 2 are included in section 2 of the 4 action. Renderings can be found in Exhibit C, and selected preliminary drawings are in Exhibit. Proceeding through the 4 action, sections 3E through G show the proposed budget and source of funds for phases 1 and 2. On November 1st, 2022, HHFDC issued a determination that the project is exempt from the preparation of environmental assessment. The notice of that determination was published in the environmental notice on November 23rd, 2024. On March 13th, 2024, the developer presented the project at the Hawaii County Mayor's Cabinet. June 14th, 2024, the developer presented the project at a meeting with the planning department. Lastly, on September 25th, the developer hosted an in-person town hall meeting on site at Lanakila Homes. Overall, the comments received from the public primarily pertain to property management arrangements, what public safety features would be in place, and project design. A list of the 201H exemptions for the project is in Exhibit G. The requested exemptions generally include exemptions that refer to various county fees, exemptions from county code pursuant to increased density and maximizing the units on the project. Right. Specifically, the exemptions being requested from county code relating to density include minimum right of way on improved interior street, sidewalk width project abutting angle street park, required minimum yard size, and the underlying RD 3.75 double family residential and RS10 single family residential zoning. The developer is also requested to proceed as a state affordable housing project under the governor's emergency proclamation related to affordable housing, and seeking certain suspensions under the proclamation, including the suspension of HRS sections 46-143, 46-146 relating to impact fees for wastewater connection and park dedication, and the suspension of HRS section 201H-3883. Allow the 201H exemptions to be approved with modifications or disapproved by the director of the County of Hawaii Planning Department as opposed to the county. HHFDC believes the project qualifies to proceed as a state affordable housing project and under the 10th proclamation, and it is included as Exhibit J. The full list of suspensions of law being requested under the 10th proclamation are listed in Exhibit H. After the HHFDC accepted the application for processing, developers shared the application with agencies and elected officials listed in Exhibit F for review and comments. A brief discussion of some significant comments is included in Section 3P of the 4 action. A comprehensive summary of the comments received is listed in Exhibit. Staff notes that the State Department of Transportation reiterated comments that they had provided during consultation associated with exemption from preparation of the environmental assessment process regarding the project's compliance with the Federal Aviation Administration regulations. It's also noted by staff that HHFDC will not approve any exemptions from federal or state laws relating to the construction of projects near airports, nor is the developer requesting any such exemptions. The project will comply with all applicable laws and regulations, including but not limited to building height limits, photovoltaic glinting wood, and not providing landscaping that will be a wildlife. Conclude, staff respectfully request that the HHFDC board authorize the recommendations subject to the conditions listed in Section 4 of the 4 action, which includes authorizing the HCDC Hawaii Development LLC as an eligible developer, the project proposal and requested exemptions, and the project as a state affordable housing project under the 10 proclamation. The developer and co-developer are able to present a brief PowerPoint presentation, answer further questions as needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. Come on up.
Oh. I have Caitlin Barrow online. I'll let her start. She's from High Ridge Costa. I'm Emily Davids from Partners.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you, Cameron and Emily, for the introduction. Aloha and good morning to the HHFDC board members. As Emily said, Caitlin Barrow, Senior Project Manager with High Ridge Costa. On behalf of High Ridge Costa, the Hawaii Public Housing Authority, and foreign partners, we are pleased to present Lanakila Homes to the board. We have a unique opportunity to provide quality, affordable housing in Hilo and bring thoughtful redevelopment to the neighborhood and the community at large. Next slide, please. Today, we'll share with you a brief introduction on our team, provide a project update, describe the future residents of Lanakila Homes redevelopments it tends to serve, and provide an update on the entitlement process and schedule. Next, Lanakila Homes is one of the 9 targeted sites with the Hawaii Public Housing Authority's Kalemomi Redevelopment Initiative. In July 2023, High Ridge Costa was selected as the master developer and is working with foreign partners on this endeavor. Together, we are the Lanakila Homes development team. The Hawaii Public Housing Authority is recognized as one of the largest public housing agencies, first established in 1935. The HPHA's inventory consists of over 6,000 units across 85 properties. Next slide, please. The HPHA's Housing Choice Voucher Program and their federal and state loan communities combined serve over 28,000 Hawaii residents. The HPHA also manages a robust wait list as well, demonstrating the critical need for more housing. Next slide, please. Through the HPHA's commitment in promoting quality, affordable housing, opportunity, concentrating poverty, and creating suitable living environments, the team hopes to address a spectrum of housing needs. Next slide, please. At High Ridge Costa, we're an affordable housing developer with over 30 years of experience. In those 30 years, we've developed over 30,000 units in over 300 communities across the country. Our commitment to Hawaii is to enhance the lives of lower income Ohana and Kupuna households through development and preservation. And Emily, do you want to take foreign partners?
Foreign partners, you may know Chris Duker, who's been in this boardroom plenty of times recently, but he started Foreign Partners. He's mostly done market rate housing over the years. Some of his projects are displayed on the slide here, but the focus recently has been within our partnership with High Ridge Costa and the state to provide affordable housing.
And then here is just a chart just depicting, excuse me, our commitment to Hawaii before joining the Kale Momi redevelopment initiative. We had quite a few sites on 3 islands and just under 3,000 units in development. I mentioned before that Lanakila Homes is part of the Kale Momi, which is targeting 9 of the Hawaii public housing sites for redevelopment. In this initiative, and we've come through this board before, we've entitled Mayor Wright Homes, Kapa'a Homes, anticipated entitlement for Kahumana Homes in this month, and then we're speaking about Lanakila Homes today.
Thank you, Caitlin. So I'll take the project update. Lanakila Homes is an approximately 8.5 acre site. It's currently zoned residential and a urban state land use district. The site is vacant now, but it is in close proximity to schools, community centers, retail, job centers within central Hilo. So it makes for a ideal site for affordable housing. Prior to the partnership with the development team and HPHA, HPHA completed a visioning study in April in 2023. The focus of this was really on kind of multimodal opportunities and connectivity. The site is within 5-minute walk to major points of interest, bike rides within downtown Hilo and UH and close to bus stations. So these were all things that we took forward into our master plan and complemented a lot of the Hilo plans that were already completed as well by the county. Some history on this site is and how it's vacant now. Well, in 1958 units were built on this site. By 2016, these units were considered obsolete. The 31 buildings were demolished across both the green outline there and then the yellow outline. In 2019, 16 new units were built within that phase 3B area, which is that green outline. And in 2021, the soil remediation was completed to prepare for development along the yellow outline, which is the subject site we're talking about today. Design inspiration really came from the existing community. It's a suburban area now. We did want to add some density to allow for more affordable housing. We're looking at kind of low density, taking advantage of parks and open space, providing amenities for the community, with gardens and playgrounds, bike paths and walking paths, which you'll see in our master plan. So this is our draft master plan. We're looking at 2 phases, a total of 258 units. It'll be comprised of 22 buildings, 22 12-plex buildings, 3-story walk-ups. The first phase will be 152 units, which is everything on the left side of that dotted line. And then the second phase will be 106 units, which is on the right side of the line. It'll be comprised of 1-bedroom, 2- and 3-bedroom units, with a total parking count of 378, which is approximately at 1.5 per unit. The units will be capped at 60% AMI for qualifying Kama'aina Ohana residents. Circulation plan, kind of going back to the themes of the plan and how it started with multimodal connections. Here we've mapped out where the bus stops are, the bus routes, thought about walking paths, crosswalks, how to get there, where our bike stations will be, how the bikes interact with the streets internally and externally, and how people are going to get around Central Hilo from our site. Few renderings from different views. This is aerial view looking northwest. This is another view of that looking north. Southwest, and you can see my Works, yes, this is the 16 new units that were built in that phase 3B site, so trying to keep a density that complements what exists there now. Won't go through these in detail as you have them in your packages, but there are requested 2NH exemptions, which are standard to what is usually requested within those 2NH applications for affordable housing, density exemptions, parking, and things like that. Fees, permit fees, impact fees. The future residents is really what this is all about. The 2024 income guidelines by HUD are or the HELO community from a 30% AMI looks at an income of 23,000 for a single person, up to a 60% AMI for a family of 4 at 66,000. So this is really our fast food workers, retail workers, up to construction laborers, firefighters, and incomes in that range. What this means as far as rents, and there's a typo on here since we aren't providing studios. So we focus on the 1 bedroom to 3 bedrooms. The range of rents would be $623 for a single person in a 1 bedroom, up to $1,700, $1,728 for a 3 bedroom unit, a family of 4. These are established by HUD and are based on the incomes of those individuals. Entitlement process and schedule, where we're at. Everything in gray is kind of what we've completed already in this process. We really started this in July of 2023 when we first had signed the agreement with HPHA, but we submitted a 2NH package to HHFDC in September. Held the town hall meeting, received the EA exemption that was published in the ERP in November. As part of the emergency proclamation, we aren't required to go to county council, but we did anyway for transparency. And they provided a resolution of their support, urging HHFDC and the planning director to move forward with this development. We continue to have meetings with stakeholders, constituents and planning department. We're anticipating receiving 2NH approval, hopefully, in this month or next month to prepare for our financing application for phase 1 in February. Hopeful again that we'll be receiving a financing award in fall to allow us to design and finish design and permitting in 2026, going for construction to start in 2027 and move-ins to begin in 2028. Of course, this is all contingent upon financing and approvals. We do have a website, phone number, email for the public access. Now, with any questions from the board?
Thank you for the presentation. Directors, do you have any questions for the developer representative? Okay, if not, then I will call for the question. All those in favor to authorize the application, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take another, like a 5-minute recess. Back to order. And move on to our next agenda item, which is item 3G. And this is to authorize the executive director of the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation to negotiate the corporation's use, sale, and transfer program restrictions, net share of appreciation for properties subject to foreclosure action, and enter into settlement agreements for repurchase or payment. Is there a motion to authorize?
So moved.
We have a second. Okay, is there anyone in the public would like to offer testimony on this agenda item? Hearing none, we'll turn this over to Lorna.
Being chair, members of the board, Lorna Kumitani with the Real Estate Services Section. This board action seeks to establish an effective and efficient process to bring about an acceptable and timely solution to what could be a complex, long, drawn-out legal process with no resolution or recapture of net proceeds on properties encumbered by the corporation's use, sale, and transfer program restrictions. As indicated in Section 2A, dwelling units developed and sold under Chapter 201H Hawaii Revised Statutes, specifically 201H-47 HRS, whether in fee simple or leasehold, are subject to the corporation's use, sale, and transfer restrictions, which constitutes a lien on the purchased property and is superior to any other mortgage or lien, except for A, any first purchase money mortgage, B, mortgage insured or held by a federal housing agency like the USDA Rural Development, and C, any mortgage or lien that obtains the corporation's prior written consent. Written disclosure of the corporation's program restrictions is provided at every stage of the purchase process, from initial offering through closing the purchase and during the home ownership period as well. Hawaii administrative rules are referenced regularly in correspondence for transparency to ensure compliance with the program restrictions and to protect the corporation's interest in the property to the extent possible. Currently, the corporation has some kind of interest such as lease rent, repurchase option, or shared appreciation equity in approximately 25 properties subject to legal proceedings. These two cases have the potential for settlement if an agreement can be reached between the corporation and the litigating party. As indicated in Section 3, it is in the party's best interest to bring quick resolution when possible to legal action filed upon the corporation. Pursuant to Chapter 201H-2 HRS, the corporation may delegate to one or more of its agents or employees its powers and duties as it deems proper. To allow the corporation to negotiate and agree to a settlement of HHFDC's program restriction liens, lien amounts in a timely and efficient manner, authority to settle such foreclosure cases can be delegated to an employee as the board deems proper. Recommendation is made that the HHFDC Board of Directors authorize the executive director to negotiate the corporation's program restrictions for properties subject to foreclosure action and enter into settlement agreements for repurchase or payment when it's in the best interest of the corporation at the executive director's sole discretion.
Thank you. Directors, questions for Lorna? Anybody? Not a question, but a comment. I like the idea of being able to act more efficiently and quickly because coming back to the board may not work with everybody else's timeline. I was thinking about the idea of establishing guidelines for the executive director to provide some consistency in decision making and some really some protection for the executive director. You know, we there's so many different
Scenarios.
Yes, and be having some basic guidelines for the executive director to follow in carrying out their discretion would be useful for the corporation. Just a thought, something to consider. Did you want
I
to
agree.
speak to
I
that?
think that's something that, we can work together with, along with our deputy AG on guidelines that could be used for making decisions to settle these cases.
Or thresholds of complexity or cost where it feels like would really warrant board, but
Right? There might be cases where we might want to seek board input.
Sure. So, because, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you want to establish those guidelines before you approve the action or just?
No, I think we can take action today, but yeah.
Chair, I would suggest that we not try to put guidance in as a board action or rules, because based on the presentation, these opportunities, if you want to call them, are varied and have different kinds of operation and so I think that would defeat the purpose of trying to use this for action to expedite these kinds of things, so they don't drag out. The clear direction in this is that they're time sensitive, and if you don't meet the deadlines for counteroffers, then you're not only not going to settle, but you're going to possibly end up getting less.
Yeah, well, I was really thinking more in terms of situations where there's forgiveness of debt to some extent, and not having the director's decision-making called into question for doing something like that. That's really where I'm coming from. So.
I appreciate that you're.
But if you feel
trying to
that.
Be protective of
It was just a thought, it was just a comment, and I'll leave it at that.
I'm in favor of some flexibility here.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your input on that. Okay, no other discussion. All those in favor of the motion to authorize, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're going on to item 3H, which is, and there is one, I do need to note one correction in this for action, but I'll go ahead and read it and note it. This is to approve the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation's purchase of equity in designated units within the park at Keaumoku Housing Development Project located at 1515 Liona Street. And here's the correction. It's 1500 Rycroft Street, not 1550. Honolulu, Hawaii, TMK number 1-2-3-018-052, CPR numbers 0001 through 1002. In accordance with chapter 15-309 Hawaii Administrative Rules. And 2, a set aside of dwelling unit revolving fund equity pilot program funds for the project. Is there a motion to approve? Well, and we have a second. Is there anyone in the public like to present testimony on this agenda item? Hearing none. Back to staff.
I apologize for the typo.
Okay.
So this for action seeks to increase exposure and promotion of the DEP program at the Park on Keaumoku Housing Development Project, which is a Honolulu County agreement. In October of 2024, staff from the development branch met with the project owner and senior representatives of the developer sales team to discuss the program requirements and possible application of the program on the projects to designated started units in the project. The project will have 1,002 residential units in 2 44-story buildings, parking structure, commercial units, and various amenities, and the presentation of the project will be shortly. In November of 2024, HHFDC received written requests from the developer, Keaumoku Development Owner LLC, to utilize the DEP program funds for designated affordable and market units in the project. A summary of the proposed unit types, original and new sales prices, and the corporation's DEP equity is provided at the bottom of page 2 of the table. for a combined total of 26 designated DEP units and funding allocation of approximately $2.1 million as indicated on the top of page 2. The versatility of the DEP program provides for a broad range of starter unit opportunities, such as market rate units for seasoned professionals seeking housing at an affordable price at 140% of the area median income. To date, a combined total of 61 units are approved for sale as DEP program units in 2 housing developments. A combined total of $5.32 million in allocated funds and a remaining balance of $0.68 million provides available funds to support this project. A recommendation is being made that the Board of Directors approve the Park on Kealomoku for Sale Housing Development Project for the DEP program as follows in section 4 of the recommendation. For HHFDC to purchase equity in 26 designated units. An allocation of DEP program funds not to exceed $2,089,281 and to execute the DEP program documents and authorize the executive director to take all necessary actions to effectuate the purposes of this for action. Mr. Wyatt Matsubara from Non Inc. is here and he will do a presentation of the project.
Thanks, Wyatt.
Thank you.
Wait, just press the
You'd all like to introduce
Sure. Good morning, Chair, Mackler, board members, Executive Director Minakami, Wyatt Matsubara on behalf of the Park on Kealomoku. With me, I have my 2 smart people in the room, my brokers, sales agents, Doug Shanefield, Cal Sakota. They've been instrumental in getting our project units sold, especially our affordable housing program. So they're very familiar with our project. So super excited to be here. I know Lorna and Randy have done a tremendous job with us. I really appreciate them. She mentioned that we met with them in October. It actually started a few months earlier when I went to some random presentation done by David and Randy, and I found out about this program. And here I am today. So their efforts in presenting to the public was definitely well received, and we're hopefully going to be able to execute that today for you guys. So just for some location purposes, we're on Kealomoku Street, great location, the 3.5 acre property. As Lorna said, we have 2 residential towers, 400 feet tall, 972 total units. 15% or 146 units are affordable under the city program between 100 and 140 AMI. But the location of this is absolutely fantastic. It's off of Kapilani, which is pretty busy. Kealomoku can get busy, but it's a great location. Walking distance to Ala Moana, eventually TOD should be here. But there's a lot of eating places in the area. There's a lot of residentials coming into the area. So it's a absolutely great area, we feel, for residents. Let's see. This is basically what it is. So I kind of did the rundown of what they are. We have 1 amenity deck here. It's pretty substantial, and the 972 units will help share offset of that. So that's how we try to keep our AOPs down. We have basically almost half an acre park, but what you'll see kind of surrounded by the trees in the lower right-hand corner of this view, that's open to the public, be privately maintained. The rec deck will be on top of the parking structure. All units, including affordable, have full access to our amenity deck. We're non-discriminatory guys. So this kind of gives you an overview. Kealomoku street will be where that site plan is indicated. On the left of the screen would be where Ala Moana Shopping Center is, and to the right will be Fort Mauka. So the tower on the right, which is on Leona Street, we call it Leona Tower. Took some time to figure that name out. And then the tower on the right, which is Rycroft Towers on Rycroft Street, that took a little bit longer, but we figured that one out too. So those are the 2 towers. They're split pretty well. The tower on the left, we've started sales. I'll have a timeline later when we went, but this is kind of the layout, how it's kind of functional, and Design Partners was our architect. They kind of laid it out nicely. It's our amenity deck. So it's going to be a typical amenity deck. We do have an infinity pool on the top. We do have various open private barbecue pavilions, a bunch of barbecue stations, club rooms, yoga studios, workout rooms. So everything a typical high rise should have, a lot larger because it's going to be supporting two structures. But again, all units will have access to this. And I'll let our brokers kind of speak a little bit to the sales and the residential units.
Hi, I'm Doug Shanefield with Global Banker. Wanted to say that this is a building that's going to be very attractive to the clientele that we are trying to keep in Hawaii, with medical professionals, teachers, police, people that are leaving the state, and they can get a very nice home on the mainland. They can get a house in Vegas for $400,000 with a detached residence. So we are making this attractive to people to stay in a job that may not pay as well as we'd love for it too. But in order to stay here, we have not only just a place to live in a small box, but we have a beautiful development that they will want to stay in with the help that we would like to provide this program, financial help. So as Wyeth mentioned, location is really key too, in addition to what you see on the screen here, which is views and beautiful selection of sizes from studio up to 3-bedroom. Although what we'd be offering is the studio and 1-bedroom units for this price point. Floor to ceiling window. Every unit though comes with the same features that you get in a luxury apartment. The floor to ceiling windows, central air. Every unit comes with its own lanai, and the finishes are the same. Sizes are the same. So that's what's nice, is why it's mentioned too. This is for everyone in the building to enjoy. Affordable units, the same as the market units. They blend with as part of the community. It's all seamless, and the residents are going to all feel part of the same community as some of our higher priced luxury units in the same building. So, one thing I'll add to back to the location is that we are so central and located within just a couple of blocks of 4 public schools. You have Queen Ka'ahumanu, you have McKinley High School, and you have Lunalilo Elementary, and you have Washington Middle, all within a couple of blocks, right in the heart. We also have medical centers. We have Halepapa'a, which is just a block away. We have Kapiolani Medical, big one, a couple blocks away. Kaiser, the other direction. HMSA, I'm not sure will qualify, but we have that right across the street. So we have really a key location for this opportunity for the workers. Do you want to add, Kyle?
No, I think you did. Thanks, Doug. Just a couple of things. Doug mentioned that it's a luxury units, but they're not really like luxury, although we'd like to consider ourselves. We're not a hard use type resort type unit. It is well appointed though. We did put a lot of thought and effort into it. So they'll be great units, and it's not gonna, it'll be a great product. We are 100% committed to the identified professions that you guys have identified, healthcare, teachers, police officers. And we understand that you're also looking at expanding that to maybe first responders and firefighters. And we're committed to what you have so far, but maybe eventually I'd like to also come in and ask for another group of professionals. We have almost 3,000 people working for our company statewide in Guam. And I'm finding that we just hired 4 college graduates who are not working in the field of their study, but we have them on project teams. So they're not an engineer, They're not a they're not you know, like a labor union worker, but they're part of a project team. And they're all the way in their federal government project teams. I have 2 in the Park and Keomoku project team, and I have 1 on Arts utility relocation. And they're all thriving. They're growing and they're being taught. And I would love for them to be able to stay here. So I may be coming back if I'm hoping to sell out within the next 30 days with what I got, you know, with the teachers and police officers, but I'm just kind of teeing it up for maybe eventually if I have to come back for expansion of professions. The other great asset about our project is that it is a true mixed use. We have 8,000 square feet of commercial. So the residents living here are really not gonna have to leave. They could work here. They could, you know, play downstairs and they can eat here.
Are you bringing Sorabo back?
Soda Bowl's across the street. They were the first ones signed up with us to relocate back after they temporarily were there. But then they've got the old Pagoda Hotel, and that's a fantastic location. So I'm glad someone's there because it's amazing. So they're not going to come back there, but they're right there. We do have some other restaurants. Feast. My brother, I taught him everything he knows. Pho Saigon, Hot Sahana, Thai food noodles. So we're gonna have a great assortment of foods and restaurants on there. So this is another great aspect about our project. The other great aspect of our project is that is a current photo of our project. So we're topped off. We're hoping to be able to start moving people in by the end of the year. So we're hoping to be the first ones to utilize this program if approved, to get people qualified, to get them closed by end of next year or early next year and have them come in and get in. So they can pay you guys back when they eventually sell in 10 years. So that's one of the benefits of our project. We're fully teed up, filling everything in now. You can see all the glazing's all up. So all we're doing now is just filling all the appliances, drywall, and other products within the residential units. This is kind of the updated data. Like I said, the Leona Tower, which is the most Mako tower, is about 98% sold market. Overall, we're at 82%, and roughly 71% of our buyers have a local zip code. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, gentlemen. Questions, directors? What's the square footage of the 1-bedroom studios?
The 1-bedroom's gonna be in the 500 to 600 square foot range. So they're it's kind of standard size. Plus lanais.
Yeah, they all have lanais.
Yeah, and the studios are in the 300s, so right around 400 square feet.
I also see 1 unit is targeted for market. Is there any program limits or restrictions on?
No, in fact, you actually have more market units.
Okay.
In this program.
Yeah, because I think this is the first request that's identified a unit in market.
We tried to do it at Quealy Place, but they had already gone out to sales by the time the program was put into place. So those units were, for the most part, sold.
We tried to ask for more market, but it just didn't fit within the price range. So this, because our product overall is not really luxury, we're able to fit at least 1 market in there. So that'd be a good tester.
And then just to comment, I think we're looking at the idea of expanding the sphere of professions for future. We hope to see your future allocations of financing for this program. And want to keep in contact with Dean about that. Maybe you could lend some support.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all this effort. Like I was just blown away when I was listening to David and Randy at this. It was an architectural, luncheon thing, and I snaked my way in there and just was I was blown away. And I said, I'm gonna come do this, and here we are. So I really appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Appreciate all their outreach as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else with any questions? Anybody? Okay, if not, all those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed, hearing that, motion carries.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me know.
Oh, no problem.
Next on the agenda, this is, we're going on to item 3I, and this is. Okay, this is to approve the strategic plan for the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation for fiscal years 2025 to 2027. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion and we have a second. Anyone in the public would like to give us or offer testimony on this agenda item? Okay, if not, we'll turn over to our executive director, I believe.
Thank you, Chair. We had the presentation of the strategic plan last month. So what we're asking for now is that the board approve the strategic plan. And this basically will serve as a guideline for the corporation's activities going forward in 2027. Of course, we're not going to be limited just to what initiatives that are in this plan. The landscape is always changing. We have to be flexible. So we will update the plan as necessary and provide updates to the board. We work our way through this in the coming years.
Chair. I appreciate the simplified mission statement. Helps us be a transparent and understandable part of helping Hawaii's families in housing.
Great. Anyone else? Comments, questions? If not, thank you, Dean, and all. Thank you to all your staff who worked to put this strategic plan together. It's going to be helpful going forward. With that, I will ask for a motion to approve, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Going on to section 4 of the agenda, this is the report of the executive director. Turn it over to you, Dean.
I thought it would be timely to talk today about some of our major accounts and cash balances. We just had our audit presentation and some RHRF extension, state session coming. Louis couldn't stay for it, so we wanted to discuss, earth balances and all the earth balances in particular, because people ask sometimes, what are these big cash balances and what are you doing with them? And I thought it'd be good for the board members to have this information because you might be asked too, HHFDC gets all these hundreds of millions of dollars, where's it going? So this information is all in the board packet every month. So if you look at Exhibit A, first worksheet here is for the dwelling unit revolving fund. You look at sources, that first column, the very bottom, it shows $354 million balance in there. So that's a lot of money. You realize that. But when you look at that, most of this is committed to various uses. So top of the page, it shows loans that are actually closed and funding. Those are loans which are dispersing now for projects. Then you have other encumbered contracts. So these are not loans, but these are expenses primarily that this corporation has, which total, $31 million. Then we have outstanding commitments. These are commitments that have been approved by the board, but which the loan has not closed or contracts have not been encumbered yet. That totals $134 million. So basically that leaves about $91 million of cash available. And I'll note that that balance has gotten larger over the past year or so. The past has been at $30 to $40 million range. And primarily that's because we had anticipated some projects receiving loans that just didn't go through. The projects are being stalled, and we're seeing that more in this high interest rate environment. Many of the for sale projects that were planned being put on hold because they just are not feasible with the higher interest rates. Because as you're aware, when rates go up, buyers can afford less. Which means our affordable prices are reduced. Less revenue for the project, but at the same time, higher rates, they have higher costs. So it's a double whammy for these affordable projects, the for sale project. I'll also note that when you look in the restricted cash portion, there was $63 million amount there. What that amount is the repayment of our portfolio loan when we sold that to Stafford Cars Group. So he's been paying that loan back, and we paid back a large sum in 2024. And when the board made that loan for the portfolio sale, it was restricted in the sense that the board was going to have to decide what to do with those funds when it was repaid. So, but the loan is almost supposed to be fully repaid later this year in full. And at that time, the board can decide what to do with that. It'll be about $70 million. We think add the $70 million to $91 million, that's about $160 million, which again, that's a large pot of money. But we also have some very large expenses that are unfunded. So for example, we have the roads in Kapolei. Again, that's always been just a drain on the corporation's resources. Estimate is that rehabilitate the roads to a standard the city will take them from us, about $100 billion. Make that one item alone, $100 billion. Don't have the Waikoli water system.
Did he keep raising that bar every time you reach it?
We actually dedicated the first roads, backbone roads to the city about a year ago. And that was so challenging because every time we had an inspection, they would raise the bar like, oh yeah, there's another crack here. Oh, you gotta sand those curbs, they're not smooth enough. Again, it's about $100 billion just for that one item. Or the Waihole water system. Waihole, that's been the major drain there, is that we own and maintain that water system there. We would like to dedicate it to the Board of Water Supply. To do that, we have to build a system that is compliant to their standards. And the board has expressed a willingness to do this, that if we build it to their standards, they will accept it and take that obligation from us.
Which board are you talking about?
Board of Water Supply. So, which is different, in the past, they were non-committal. But I give credit to Ernie Lau saying that he is open to that.
He needs Malco water that is not from the lava aquifer.
So that would be a cost of $30 million just for that project. We also have our water systems for Kamakana villages. Right now that development is held up, pending seaworm, but we're hoping that'll be clear. That'll be another $30 million we need for those wells. And we have system upgrades needed for 694 kind of project. That'll be coming to the board next month, actually, for an update. We have a tier 2 RHRF loan. We'll touch upon the needs for the electrical upgrades for that project. And $15 million or so unfunded at this point. So yes, we do have a large balance in DERF, but we also have many expenses coming up. Going to flip the page and look at the housing involving point. I just want to touch on here because those extensions coming today. Look at the sources column. We have $563 million of cash balance in DERF, RHRF. Now, cash balance is very different from available funding because that cash balance includes projects where we've already awarded projects and the loans are closed. So we put the loans closed and funding. Categories, there's $127 million where the loans have been closed and they're funding now. And then there's other projects with outstanding commitments, such as those which we saw today, which have a commitment but haven't closed yet. So that totals $273 million. The net available is $163 million, which we will be using for this coming funding round. Anticipate that we'll award probably in the range of $100 to $150 million. Hopefully, we're hoping that they will be ready to award. And I'll note that this is a different practice that we've taken this past year. In the past, we would have, if we had available funds in RHRF, in many cases, we would have awarded those projects, those funds to projects, even if they didn't meet the next criteria. We're really starting to hold the line on projects having to be ready because as you saw today, there are projects that were funded in 2019. Others that were waiting 3 years going on and they are not closing. We see this as, stewards of public funds. We don't want the funds to be sitting there waiting for projects to close. So this past year, I think, was a under adjustments for developers. They now know what the expectation is. And we expect them to come in ready next year, and we expect to have more awards next year as we understand now that bar has been lifted for readiness. So any questions about our correct and their balances? Again, this is in the report every month, so if you ever want to look at it or have questions about it, you can feel free to ask myself or our HRF will be David, or HRF will be Randy. Out to them. Also just wanted to note for legislation, last month I touched upon some of the bills that we expect to see. There have been a number of housing bills. I just got a flurry of emails last night about bills that have been introduced. But for the governor's package, I'll just say that for the bills that have been included are the bills that would create an RHRF sub-account for tier 2 bills, tier 2 funding. To make the dirt equity pilot program permanent has been included, and looking forward to seeing down the road. The land use reform bill, which I talked about last month, that would give the land use require the land use commission to redesignate lands which the counties designate. That's actually an OPSD proposal. HHFDC and OPSD have very similar proposals. And staff worked together to come up with one consolidated proposal so it's actually OPSD's proposal.
So there was in the pre-filing, bill from Senator Chang and gang, that appeared to track the one that we have, but instead of having it be a county approved district boundary amendment, it goes to the land use commission. It requires rules. It has a whole bunch of requirements, and in my quick skim of the pre-filing bill, it looks to me like it would defeat the purpose of our bill, make it almost impossible for the counties to make their district land use amendments that bring the state district boundary amendments in conformance with the county general plans and development zoning. So, I don't know what the administration's position will be on that Senator Chang bill, but I personally prefer the bill that we work. It's in the governor's package.
There's also the SHIPD bill, which would provide expedited process for closing projects, whereby we could have Chicky could categorically approve projects which are expected to have no significant impact on historic resources. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Directors, do you have any further questions for Dean? No, thanks, Steve. That takes us to the last item, which is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Anyone? Have a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Nice job, guys.